Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 6th of September 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, view the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so also before we jump in, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD website, specifically our JFD research page, which you can always check out in order to kind of have a look at different analysis that we do on a daily basis. So I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. But for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the S&P 500. Now, I looked at this one previously, and basically what I was saying, that if we get a nice push above the 2,944 zone, then in a way that we could see this one pushing further north for now, of course. And this is what's happening right now. You can see that this is what happened yesterday. It traveled higher. It went all the way here towards the 2,975 zone. It tested that area and kind of ended the day around it. Now, if we look at the cash index at this point in time, we can see that the index is just slightly above the 2,980 zone. It's really not far from the psychological 3,000 levels. In a way, it does have all the chances for reaching that level today. Let's see if it actually does that. But the only thing is that we didn't quite get very good numbers from the US. I mean, in terms of their employment numbers. So as non-farm payrolls declined, they came out lower than expected at 130K against the 160. So we saw a hit on the US dollar. So and of course unemployment remained the same at 3.7, but like I said, for now, I mean, even though we didn't have very good numbers from the US in terms of employment numbers, but still the S&P 500, it could be driven higher due to the risk on environment right now. Of course, given that there are some good news coming out of the trade talks. I mean, the US and China are willing to continue negotiating. So this is kind of lifting the indices, the equity markets, a little bit higher here. So in a way, if we see a further push away from yesterday's close, then the next target for us is still that psychological 3,000 level. Now, don't get me wrong, slightly above that at 3,028, we do have the all-time high, the previous all-time, in general, the all-time high here. So which also could get tested, but again, let's go step by step on this one. First, let's see if it actually reaches the 3,000 level. If it reaches that and breaks it, then the path could be open towards the a retest of this 3,028 zone. Could be a possibility, but of course we'll take it from there, see if it decides to break this 3,000 level. But for now, the big question here is, will this actually travel all the way here towards the 3,000 level? I mean, today's Friday, could be a nice kind of move for the end of the week here, so be very careful. In case this suddenly reverses back down, still, as long as it remains above the 2,944 zone, we will remain somewhat bullish here on this one, and also if it continues to trade above this upside, this tentative upside support line. So in a way, this could kind of play out exactly right here. I mean, exactly if this decides to travel lower and test the 2,944, this would still be above this tentative upside line, so which also could provide a bit of support here. So that's why, guys, for now, until it's kind of trading above this area, then yep, we will continue targeting the upside. If suddenly this starts dropping below the 2,944 zone and breaks this upside line, then yep, this is where it could become a little bit nasty here for the buyers, and we could see the S&P 500 sliding to the downside again. Initially, we will target the 200 EMA and this 2,894 zone. And after that, we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do. If he wants to travel further down, then we'll examine these lower levels. But for now, like I said, this is the level that we're going to be aiming for in the near term. And that's, as I said, if we see a break of this upside line and a drop below the 2,944 zone. Jumping into a few pairs now very quickly. The first one I want to touch on here is the USDCAD. So this one took a strong hit and slid lower. You can see that it's currently balancing near the 1.3180 zone. So I talked about this one this morning, and this is what I was saying, guys. I mean, we could see this one maybe traveling a little bit higher, but if it fails to get back above the 1.3248, then I mean this is where the bears could see another opportunity to jump in here and drive this one not only below the or should I say, initially we were targeting the 1.32 zone, but the next target for us was around the 1.3180. Now if this gets broken, now this is where it could turn out to be ugly for USD CAD. Even in the near term, we could see this one sliding further down, but for now you can see that the pair is currently still balancing above this 1.3180. Let's see how today's daily candle is going to close. It will be very interesting to see. If we see a close below the 1.3180, then of course this increases the chances for further decline. The reason for this nice beautiful decline here was the fact that of course the non-farm payroll, US non-farm payrolls came out worse than expected, but the Canadian employment change figure came out much better even than the forecasted one. I'm not mentioning already the previous one. So came out at 81k versus the 19k, roughly 19k, the forecasted one. So that's why we saw a huge increase in the CAD buying, and yep, this is the effect that it had on the USD CAD pair. So for now, guys, be very careful, keep your eyes on the 1.3180. If we see a further slide below this, let's see how the daily candle is going to close and where the weekly candle as well is going to close. If it stays below the 1.3180, then well, next week we could maybe even target areas like the 1.3113. But again, let's not over speculate on this one too much. First, let's wait and see how this is going to end the day today. USDJPY also took a hit, but this is what I was talking about this morning. Excuse me. This is what I was saying this morning, basically, that of course in order to consider higher levels, ideally we would like to see a push above the 107.18. This would be that kind of safe game here, but also if it remains, if it slides lower but stays above the 106.68, then well, I mean, we could see this one curving up and pushing back to the upside. So that's why the similar story here, guys. We need to see to see how today's daily candle is going to close. If it stays above this 106.68, then there is a good chance we could see this one curving up and pushing to the upside, maybe even next week. So probably this week you'll hang around somewhere here, but for next week this could be quite significant, especially if it also stays above the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So keep your eyes on this one. If this suddenly drops below this and drops all the way here below all of these EMAs, now this is where we will consider a possible slide towards the 105.68, 69 zone, or even this little area near the 105.54 zone. So keep your eyes on that one as well. But as I said, just for that kind of better confirmation. Yes, ideally we would like to see a drop below this 106.69, but just for that extra confirmation, wait for a push below all these EMAs here, and then we could aim for the 105.69 or the 105.54 levels. Jumping into another very interesting pair, you probably don't look at this one very often, but NZDCHF, so NZD being the best performer today and the CHF being the worst. This is the result that we're getting here. We're having a nice spike here to the upside, nice push to the upside, and looking at this 4-hour chart, you can see that the pair managed to travel above all of its EMAs here, even the 200 EMA here, and currently balancing above it. So of course, if it continues to trade here above this 200 EMA, there's a good chance we could see a continuation move higher. I'm not saying that this could happen today, but maybe something for next week. And of course, there are a few obstacles on the way higher here, like for example this one right here near the 0.640305 area, approximately around there. Could be a nice potential target, initial target. For now, the pair is around the 0.634850. Keep your eyes on this pair. It's going to be, like I said, it could be quite interesting. And if it continues to trade above this 200 EMA, then yep, we could see this one curving up and pushing towards the 0.640305 zone. So this is going to be our first initial kind of target. After that, we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do after that. If it wants to climb higher, then that's good news. We'll consider a possible move higher, but for now, like I said, this is what we're going to be aiming for. We're going to be aiming for something like this. Don't get me wrong, this is a very bullish case. This is a very bullish scenario here, but also what you could keep an eye on, just in case, you could keep an eye on this little tentative upside support line. Now again, also whatever, and as long as it kind of remains above this, then yep, we could kind of in a way look still to the upside, but from the very short-term perspective. So in a way, if we see, let me just quickly mark this one for future reference. So in a way, if we see a drop below this little area somewhere around here near the 0.631415 zone, then yep, we will consider a possible slide here towards this upside support line, and a bit of a tentative line, of course, but nevertheless, if it holds the rate from moving lower, then we could see another leg of buying here, potentially lifting this one higher. But again, with the upside scenario for now, keep your eyes on the 200 EMA here. If it holds, then we could see this reversal, or should I say this move higher earlier. But if it starts falling below this 200 EMA and drops below the 0.6315, then probably we'll wait until it moves a little bit lower here, tests this upside line, and then if it rebounds from it, then this is where we will start looking at higher levels. In order to aim for the downside on this one, well, as you probably understood, we need to wait for a clear break of this upside line here, but ideally just for that better confirmation, a drop below the 0.6230 zone here, marked by the low of the 4th of September. This could do the trick here, and after that we will aim for the area near the 0.6184 zone, approximately there, so which is near the low of the 29th of August. So also could be a nice good target, but again, first we need to wait for that break of this downside line, upside line, before kind of let's say targeting lower levels. Again, as I said before, I'll repeat myself. For now, as long as it kind of remains above this 200 EMA, we will remain bullish, and even if we see a slide lower, but if it struggles to push below the 200 EMA, then we could see this one curving up and pushing to the upside earlier, and our target here initially will be the 0.640305 area, approximately around there. Another interesting pair I looked at this morning, and that's AUDUSD, and this one basically is making a nice move higher here, and this is what I was talking about this morning. Basically, I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on these two levels. So on the downside, I was telling you to keep an eye on the 0.68 zone, and on the upside, the 0.68 25, 26 area here. So if we would get a nice pop above this, then yep, it could open the path towards higher levels. And this is what I also mentioned, keep an eye on the R2, and as you can see, we had a perfect test of the R2, which was around the 0.6848 zone. Now the pair is kind of stalling a little bit, but our target, still a nice good target here that we've got, is near the 0.6859 zone, which previously acted as a good area of support back on the 30th of July, and this time it could take the role of resistance. So as it did here, as it was on the 1st of August, and it was marked, it was a nice intraday an intraday swing high here for the 1st of August. So this one, that's why we're going to focus on this, especially if we see a push above the R2, and we'll keep a close eye on this. But for now, like I said, given that it broke this little tentative downside resistance line, and it traveled now above the 200 EMA and kind of stayed above this 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, there is a good chance we could see this one pushing a little bit further up here before we see maybe some sort of a correction back down here at some point. We will probably get that, but for now, like I said, it is looking more positive than negative. And the last pair I want to quickly touch on for this session, and that's going to be euro dollar. So this one took a nice move here as well, or should I say made a nice move here, and basically of course it reacted to the non-farm payrolls as well. Initially it spiked higher, tried to push above the pivot, but as you can see, the bears are really trying hard to keep it below the pivot, below today's pivot, near the 1.1045. Of course, for now what we're going to do here is just continue monitoring this one. But to be honest, for us, let's say to start considering slightly lower areas, ideally we need to see a nice good drop and maybe a daily close of below the 1.102425 zone here before, like I said, examining slightly lower areas. In terms of the upside, we need to see a nice good push above the 1.1085 in order to aim for slightly higher levels. The only thing is, the reason why I'm saying slightly higher levels, because we're overall or I wouldn't say even overall, but from the 24th of June here, we are trading below this downside resistance line here. So in a way, initially, if the pair travels above the 1.1085, yes, it may travel further north, but if it struggles to overcome this downside line, we could see maybe another leg of selling here potentially. But of course, if it breaks it nicely and travels higher, and then yep, we will start considering higher levels, going towards those 112s, 113s. But for now, until we're kind of stuck here, we're going to remain somewhat neutral, just continue observing observing the price action and waiting for a breakthrough one of our key levels. And on the downside is the 1.102425 zone. And on the upside is the 1.1085, but even on a break of the 1.1085, we'll still be very careful with that upside, and because of this downside resistance line. So keep your eyes on that one. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me on Monday, as always, on my Traders Espresso, that's 6 o'clock GMT. For now, I hope you have a beautiful evening, guys. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. For those who are still trading, I mean, be very careful. Enjoy, of course, the trading. But like I said, for everybody, guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening and a weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday at 6 o'clock GMT on my Traders Espresso. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.